in a significant diplomatic development amid ongoing tensions in West Asia, the United States hosted a trilateral meeting with Israel and Lebanon on Tuesday, marking their first high-level engagement since 1993. The talks focused on launching direct negotiations, with all sides expressing willingness to move towards a ceasefire, security cooperation and a broader peace framework. The meeting was attended by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Councillor Michael Nidam, U.S. Ambassador to Lebanon Lisa A. Johnson, Israeli Ambassador to the United States Yeshel Liter, and Lebanese Ambassador to the United States Neda Hamda Mouawad. The United States described the meeting as a historic milestone and expressed support for continued dialogue between Israel and Lebanon. Washington also backed Lebanon's efforts to restore the state's monopoly over the use of force and to reduce external influence within its own territory. It also reaffirmed Israel's right to defend against itself continued attacks by the Hezbollah, while stressing that any agreement to end hostilities must be reached directly between the two governments and brokered by the United States only. Israel reiterated its position, calling for the disarmament of all non-state armed groups in Lebanon and the dismantling of terror infrastructure. It also expressed readiness to engage in direct negotiations with Lebanon aimed at achieving a durable peace and enhancing regional stability. On its part, Lebanon emphasized that the urgent need to fully implement the November 2024 cessation of hostilities agreement, while stressing that territorial integrity and state sovereignty is a key. Beirut also called for an immediate ceasefire and concrete international support to address the worsening humanitarian crisis in the country. All sides agreed to move forward with direct negotiation, which will take place at a mutually agreed time and venue, marking a potential step towards further diplomatic engagements in the region. Israeli ambassador to the United States has described this meeting as a wonderful two-hour exchange, but made it clear that Israel is not ready to agree to a ceasefire in southern Lebanon. The talks were facilitated by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who called the engagement an historic opportunity and a part of a broader effort to address decades of instability linked to the Hezbollah's influence in Lebanon. Marco Rubio said that the process goes beyond a ceasefire and is aimed at building a long-term framework for peace and stability in the region. He acknowledged that deep complexities involved and cautioned that progress will take time, calling it a process, not an event. The initiative comes as Israel continues its military operations against Hezbollah, while Lebanon pushes for a ceasefire, setting up a key diplomatic divide even as talks continue in Washington. Have a look at this report.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio hosted rare talks between Israeli and Lebanese negotiators in Washington on Tuesday, calling the meeting a historic opportunity.
This is a process, not an event. This is more than just one day. This will take time, but we believe it is worth this endeavor, and it's a historic gathering that we hope to build on.
The meeting began as Israel struck targets in southern Lebanon. Cross-border gunfire could be heard, and helicopters were seen flying overhead as Israel continued to press its war on Hezbollah. Israel has ruled out a discussion of a ceasefire and demanded that Lebanon disarm the Iran-aligned group. Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Yeshel Liter, who participated in the Washington meeting, expressed optimism about the talks.
What gives me hope is the fact that the Lebanese government made it very clear that they will no longer be occupied by Hezbollah. And Iran has been weakened. Hezbollah is dramatically weakened. This is an opportunity. This is the first time our two countries are sitting together in over 3 decades. Let's feel the moment. Let's enjoy the moment.
The meeting comes at a critical juncture in the crisis in the Middle East, a week into a fragile ceasefire between the United States, Israel, and Iran. Iran says Israel's campaign against Hezbollah in Lebanon must be included in any agreement to end the wider war, complicating talks mediated by Pakistan aimed at averting further economic fallout. Tuesday's talks in Washington were a significant step, but immediate results are unlikely, said Dorothy Schmid of the French Institute of International Relations.
I don't think the Israelis expect a very concrete result on the field from these peace talks. Clearly, the Israelis didn't want a ceasefire. They think they have to keep on fighting Hezbollah themselves because they know the Lebanese authorities are unable to disarm Hezbollah. And apparently the Israelis accepted these talks only under very strong pressure from the United States, who don't want the ongoing Israeli military operations in Lebanon to derail the diplomatic process with Iran.
Israel and Lebanon agreed to hold direct negotiations at a mutually agreed upon time and place following Tuesday's meeting.
And now video released on social media on Tuesday and verified by Reuters showed the aftermath of an Israeli strike in the Tyre district of southern Lebanon. Smoke damage seen in southern Lebanon and reported Israeli strikes. The footage showed a plume of smoke rising in the distance, while other videos showed debris littering a street and dust-covered cars lining the area. Israeli and Lebanese envoys met in Washington as Israel pressed its war on Hezbollah, a diplomatic milestone overshadowed by conflicting agendas, with Israel ruling out discussion of a ceasefire and demanding Beirut disarm the group. The meeting comes at a critical juncture in the crisis in the West Asia, a week into the fragile ceasefire between the United States, Israel and Iran.
غارات قوية على الحوش. 3 غارات على الحوش ها